it's my friend Albert Gallatin. Albert, I have a question for you. How can we keep the government from getting too big and enforcing too many taxes? And how can we stop it from getting in too much debt itself? Well, Thomas, I think that we should reduce the federal budget. Wow, Albert, you are such a genius. Well, they don't call me a financial wizard for nothing. Well, thank you for thinking of that. Well, here, let me explain my theory. If we don't reduce the federal budget, the government will spend way too much. And then they will be forced to repay that debt, which means they will have to enforce taxes, which everyone hates. Yes, nobody likes taxes. Wow, what would we have done if we hadn't have thought of that? I am taxes! Ha 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 ha! The people all hate me. When debt grows bigger, so do I!
How else are we going to reduce the power of government, Thomas?
Well, I think, since our government gets most of its power through its army and its navy, I think we should reduce the power of that.
Why?
Because if the government thinks it is so powerful because it has all these young men at its disposal, then it will just go to war freely, thinking, oh, what do we have to lose? We have all these people that are willing to fight for us.
Oh, that makes lots of sense.
Hello, Navy dude. Hello, Army dude. You guys can go home. We can go home! We can go home! Albert. Yes. I was wondering, how can I reduce federal costs? Well, I just did a study, and all of the federal employees are paid a lot. So, if you would like to reduce the federal costs, please just cut some of the people's jobs that work here. Cut federal jobs so that you will save federal costs. That is my advice. Thank you, Albert. Penny? Yes? I would like to tell you something. My friend and I, Mr. Albert Gallatin, were talking earlier today, and we were trying to save federal costs by reducing the number of staff in the federal government. Oh, well, that's great, sir. How are you going to do that? You're fired. Yes, sir. Guess what, Thomas? What, Albert? I have just got some new ideas about how you can reduce the power of government. Oh, how? Well, I just learned about the Sedition Act and the Alien Act. Okay, so John Adams put the Sedition Act in place, and now 25 newspaper editors are in jail because of it. Oh, that's a problem. Then the Alien Act. The president can deport or force anyone out of the country that he feels dangerous. Wow. How many have been deported? We don't know, but there are a lot in the past year. Okay, this is a problem. If the U.S. can deport anyone out of this country that it wants, then this is a problem. I shall repeal these 2 acts to keep the peace.
Okay, so first, this is the summary of the show. And so first, the puppets talked about reducing the federal budget. And they were, so they talked about saying that debt causes taxes, which it does. And right now the U.S. is about in the trillions with debt. So that's why taxes are so high. And by reducing the federal budget back then, it would reduce the debt, which would reduce the tax. And then I showed in Thomas Jefferson's like little thought that he would try to, like, tax would take over if the debt got too high, and it's almost taking over now. So that was basically the first part. And Albert Gallatin is like this financial wizard, which is what most of my sources said. So that's how he knew so much about debt and how debt would cause tax.
The next thing Thomas Jefferson did when he was reducing the power of the government was reducing the size of the military. By reducing the size of the military, he reduced the power of the military and the cost they had to spend to support it. By reducing the size of the military, he reduced the risk of the government using it for the wrong purposes. He also believed that the federal government should not have as much power as the state governments, and that is what the Constitution eventually required. Too much power in the hands of a central government is what caused problems in England in the first place. Another way Thomas Jefferson reduced the power of the government was by reducing the cost the government spent on its employees. He did this by reducing the number of federal employees. In the show, Albert Gallatin comes to Thomas Jefferson and says that costs will be significantly lower if he reduces the number of employees. So, of course, he fires his secretary. But he actually did this because people were abusing their federal power and putting friends into government jobs that weren't needed. After he'd done this, the federal costs were significantly lower. The next thing Thomas Jefferson did to reduce the power of the government was he repealed the Alien and Sedition Acts. They were 4 bills passed by the 5th American U.S. Congress. The Alien Act allowed the president to force any non-American that he felt to be dangerous out of the country. Some were deported, and some were even put in prison. The Sedition Act. The Sedition Act made writing false things in newspapers a crime. This resulted in the arrest of 25 newspaper editors. Because he did not like these acts and he repealed them, all the prisoners that were put in jail because of it were let go, and all the people that were deported were let back into the country.